Well, Sportscar fans, it's time to rejoice as the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge Season 15 returns after the holiday season. So first of all, from us all here, a very, very happy new year and welcome along to round 7 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, which is being hosted in the southern part of the Algarve in Portugal at Portimao for what is going to be an interesting race. Hello everybody, welcome along to the JP Broadcasting Network. My name's Alex Goldschmidt and I'm in the booth tonight once again with my partner in crime for this series, the one, the only, Chris Murphy. Chris, good evening, buddy. Good to be back with you for this fantastic championship and at this wonderful location here in Portimao, the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. It's a little bit wet out there tonight.
It is a little bit wet, and we're looking for maybe a little bit more rain coming in our way when we get ready to go green flags. We got about 4.5 minutes left here in qualifying, but I think the weather forecast had a little bit more rain coming in as we drop the green flag, so this could get really interesting here tonight.
Yeah, we're in the final throes of GTP qualifying, so let's take you through the scores on the doors, or the standings as we would say, the points, as we come into this halfway point of the season. GTP sees Pat Pelchat leading the way. Unfortunately, Pat is not with us here today. Nathan Dowd is on 155 points, followed by Harrison Higgins, and then Dominic Dernberg rounds out your top 4. Brandon Wilson, the man from Hyperion Racing, rounds out your top 5 on 144 points, so 11 points covers 2nd to 5th. Jimbo Pfeiffer, Jordan Martin and Billy Smith II round out your 8 strong that have scored points in GTP so far this season. Then we head to LMP2 with the Dallara P217s. Cadin Richardson leads the way on 187 points, ahead of Mathieu Denise from Solpec Precision Racing on 136. Robert Tinsey on 122 with Mo Islam and Walker Carroll on 118 and 116 points respectively. Matt Brewer, Kevin Santana and Justin Great round out your 8 strong that have scored points so far. GTD, Brian Bennett leads the way by just a single point ahead of Carter Kundinger. So Sector 5 Black versus Composite Performance at the sharp end of the field. Bradley Haley, a further 10 points behind, rounds out your top 3 ahead of Robert Cast, Jason Kinger, Eric Sarapoli and Adam Satterfield. Then we've also got our last class to go through before we go through the team's point standings. Paul Slavonic leads the way in GTD AM on 187 points, 29 ahead of Portugal's Samuel de Oliveira, with his countryman David Fernandez rounding out your top 3, a further 4 points adrift. Dale Green, Chris Sherburn, Rich Minkler, Mark Kodrowski, Joshua Wolf, Sheldon Rosenbaum and Paul Lindsay round out your top 10. Shane Hunter, Alex Bentley, and Lyndon Swaby round out the standings in GTD AM. Then we go to the teams. Fury Simsport have a 110-point lead coming into the halfway point of the season, ahead of Composite Performance with Solpec Precision, Sector 5 Haley, Sector 5 Black, and Satellite Racing, rounding out your 6 strong teams that have been competing so far over the course of the season. Just to give you all a bit of a reminder of the calendar coming up, 2 weeks' time we head to the mountain, Mount Panorama in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia for round 8. Round 9 we go to the circuit, the Jerez circuit, Angel Nito, on February 2nd. Then we go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course on round 10 on the 16th of February. Sebring, which will be the penultimate round of the Autobahn Endurance Cup, on March 2nd. Hockenheim Ring on the 16th of March. Motorland Aragon 30th of March. And then the final round of both the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for Season 15 and the Autobahn Endurance Cup will be at the famed Circuit Spa-Francorchamps on April 13th for a 90-minute encounter. So, more to the point, there is a little bit of sunshine flicking some shadows onto the ground. We haven't got the biggest field, but nevertheless, this particular circuit, which opened back in October 2008, measures just under 4.6 miles, 15 turns in all. It's hosted the Portuguese Grand Prix most recently in 2020 and 2021 during the COVID times. The FIA World Endurance 6 Hours of Portimao, the TCR World Tour, DTM back in 2022, and along with that, FIA GT, GT2 European Series, and the World Cup of Motorsport back in the day. I am, of course, talking about the A1 Grand Prix, where it was nation versus nation in 2009. But this circuit, fast, flowing, plenty of overtaking opportunities here, Chris, and especially coming out of turn 15 at Galp, you've got a little bit of a Road America feel, because as soon as they come out of that sweeping downhill right-hander, they go up an incline, very much in the form of America's National Park of Speed, before a long stretch into turn 1 at Primera. So overtaking is going to be plentiful here tonight.
Yeah, a lot of elevation changes here at Portimao. Really a fun track to drive around as well for the drivers. But if the big key there, like you said, a lot of passing opportunity off of turn 15, down that long straightaway, back down into turn number 1. So it's all about carrying that momentum through 15. If you can keep the car straight, carry that momentum through that corner, you got a good chance of getting some overtakes down that long straightaway.
So the checkered is out for time qualifying. Harrison Higgins, coming out of the final corner, will come across the stripe. He's currently P3 in the class, jumps ahead of Nathan Dowd on a 1:33.966. But Brandon Wilson, the man in the BMW M V8 hybrid for Hyperion Racing, has secured pole position for the class itself. So looking at the pole sitters, Brandon Wilson in GTP, Kadin Richardson, LMP2, Sheldon Rosenbaum in GTD AM, Robert Cast in GTD, who's now running with GT Dynamics. He's been racing elsewhere, including the Sim Racing Republic GT Open Series most recently. But this is a wonderful facility. And one of the things, I was talking to you about this on it just before we went live, Chris, that the circuit itself is quite an impressive facility. It's only 17 years old. But it's one of these tracks that just really provides a nice modern take on how a circuit should be. It should have its fair share of challenges. And as we see Barney the flag marshal on the start-finish stretch waving that checkered flag to conclude the session, it does really showcase that this could be one of the most exciting rounds of the championship so far.
Yeah, with not like you said, a little bit smaller field here, so we'll see how the battles shape out. Only 4 cars in our GTP class. Wilson over a second clear of the field there in qualifying, so Higgins or Dowd are going to really have to step it up if they're going to run Wilson down. But it is just a fantastic track here at Portimao. I really enjoy watching the F1 races here. I haven't really had a chance to watch much of anything else, but I got a feeling these GTP and LMP2 cars are really going to make their way around this racetrack in a hurry and put on a good show here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the home of one of the rounds of the European Le Mans Series, Portimao, and there is the main clubhouse. As you can see, our fans are in the grandstands, adorning the start-finish stretch, and also looking out over Torre Vippen. As we said, you said about rain.
There it
Here it
is.
is. It is there, and we have got the pace car waiting to greet our full grid of just over 20 cars here at Portimao. So this is going to be tricky. And if you are at the front end of the field, if your name is Brandon Wilson, if your name is Harrison Higgins, you are going to have a clear line of sight. So without further ado, let's take you through our grid for round number 7 in the respective classes. So we'll do the complete grid, I think, is probably a good measure on this one. So we'll go all the way up to our GT. Well, we've got GTPs, so it is going to be Brandon Wilson in the number 4 Hyperion Racing BMW that's going to start from pole position. Harrison Higgins in the number 53 Fury Simsport Porsche 963 Hybrid. Nathan Dowd will round out your top 3 in the Cadillac V Series R. Then Dominic Dernberg in the Acura 06. Cadin Richardson will be lining up alongside Robert Tinsey in the front row of the LMP2 classification, ahead of Walker Carroll, Matt Brewer, and Mo Islam. Robert Cast in the number 42 for GT Dynamics will start on pole position for GTD, ahead of Brian Bennett in Sector 5 Black. Bradley Haley for Sector 5 Haley Agency will round out the top 3 in that, starting 12th on the grid. Jason Kinger from Solpec Precision will be joined by Carter Kundinger, and then Ryan Washleski for Satellite Racing rounds out the GTD classification after qualifying. Sheldon Rosenbaum will start in pole position, and then it's going to be David Fernandez. We've got no Samuel de Oliveira here tonight either. Chris Sherburn rounds out the top 3 in the Acura NSX. Mark Kodrowski, Rich Minkler, Paul Slavonic, and Dale Green rounds out your overall grid. 22 cars here at Portimao. Still waiting for some of the field to ready up on the grid here, Chris, but more to the point, this rain is going to put the Portuguese cat amongst the pigeons, isn't it, tonight?
It is going to make it a lot more interesting for sure. One of the smaller fields we've seen so far in Autobahn, and I was watching in the Discord chat last couple of days, and they were talking about this rain, and I'm not wondering if it scared a few guys off. They're a little bit afraid of getting wet. I'm not sure, but it is definitely going to make for a challenging experience here. We're going to see who can get around here. I mean, this might equal out this field, and we're just going to, we're going to see if somebody can run with Wilson, but I think watch for Cadine Richardson. He's won, three or four races? There's 3 or 4 races so far this year. We'll see if Tinsey or Carroll can keep up with him.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things whereby the rain will dictate how the race carries on. We're still waiting for some drivers to ready up, so to speak. So we're waiting for the remainder of our GTP class. So Harrison Higgins, Nathan Dowd, Dominic Dernberg. That's the 4 GTP cars. So at least we've got 4. They do say that variety is the spice of life. So we do have a BMW, we do have a Porsche, we do have a Cadillac, and we do have an Acura. Robert Tins, so it's going to give the opportunity for these drivers. They're like thinking there's probably a few last-minute setup changes, I would say, wet tyres. And one of the things about this circuit, of course, you want to have that little bit of a balance. You want to have that handling capability here, Chris, but you also want to have a little bit of top speed, but not too much, because otherwise, as Brandon Wilson decides to jump off grid as well. But that rain is coming in big time, and the track temperature now has dropped to 16.6 degrees Celsius, air temperature 19 degrees, and that means that this track is going to be slipperier than an ice rink.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's going to be, this rain's coming. It is not letting up either. It is coming down harder and harder, as you can see there on the screen. And we're just going to see who can tiptoe. I think if you can get down that long front straightaway, you can carry a lot of speed down there, you'll be fine. But getting slowed up into that really hard right-hand corner into turn number 1 and up to 2, 3, and 4, that is going to be a challenge for sure. So we're going to see who can handle this. As we're getting ready to roll off here. It looks like just about everybody's gridded. Brian Bennett now on the grid, so that is going to... Oh, and Haley jumped off at the moment, so we'll still short 1 car here.
Yeah.
Last minute
Gonna
setup
be
changes
very-
there, I guess.
Yeah, I think everyone's just not panicking, but just deciding. But of course, there is. We are going to see what is going to happen over the next 60 minutes, and that is going to be very, very crucial. There is the Porsche pace car, so we are going to get this race ready to rock and roll. The lights are on the gantry. We have not shown the red lights to anybody because we're going to do a full formation lap, and this is going to be an opportune time for me to talk about the challenges and the nuances of this circuit. So you're going to go down the descent here, and you've got a little bit of a compression zone into the first corner, known as Primera, but then it's 3 right-handers on the bounce before the left-hander at turn 4. So you've got to maximize your apex speed through turn 1, carry the momentum through into 2, but then you've got to be very, very quick to straighten the car up, put the brakes on, and then rotate the car through turn 3 at Lagos. And that is that's nigh on a hairpin, to be honest with you, turn 3 at Lagos. And then it's a little bit of a sweeper coming out through turn 4, and you start to go uphill for the first time properly on this circuit through into 4 and then up towards Torre Vip. So Torre Vip at turn 5, it's a downhill descent, hard on the brakes, and then it's a hairpin turn to the left, which means that you've got to be on the brakes in these conditions, Chris. One of the big things will be is traction, and especially if you lock up the brakes, you're going to go barrel rolling into somebody else.
Yeah, it's just got to ease. It's just got to be letting off. I mean, you're going to change your braking point probably a good 40 to 50 yards of these cars tonight, and as it just gets getting wetter and wetter and wetter out there. But you're right. It's just getting on the brakes and getting on it easy, not making any sudden movements on the wheel, on the brakes, on the throttle, anything at all. And it's who can be the smoothest is who's going to stay out in front of this race here at Portimao.
Yeah, and then we go through from Torre Vip down through turns 6 and 7 and 8, and turn 8 known as Samsung. You've then got a descent through into turn 9 at Craig Jones, as Brandon Wilson nearly accidentally overtakes the pace car there, but he is getting ready to bolt. And then it's through, and it's an uphill left-hander. Now, I have seen drivers, I have to give a good friend a shout-out, Rod Christie, through the Porsche Sports Cup Suisse. When we were at Portimao, he was carrying a lot of speed, about 130 miles an hour, up the hill through Craig Jones at turn 9, and then lost the back end just by making the smallest of mistakes. And then through turn 10 and 11 at the Portimao complex, it's downhill again through into the sweeping left here at turn 12 before another hairpin at turn 13, but you're going uphill on this particular occasion. And then it's up to turn 14, which is a sort of a sweeping right-hand hairpin before you go downhill. Right-hand and the right-hander Galp can catch people out. I've seen it where people have gone off the circuit into the gravel and hit the barriers in real life. And then it's down through Galp, and then it's going to be the case of uphill, pedal to the metal, and cross the line. But who knows what's going to happen in this 60-minute encounter. If you're watching along on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel, please don't forget to give us a like, share and subscribe, and also tell us who you're rooting for here for round 7 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for 2025 and 2026. So this time it will be pace car in pit lane, and then we will get things ready to go racing for 60 minutes, 1 hour of racing. It is going to be Brandon Wilson that is going to bring us to green as they will start to accelerate here at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. The lights go red. We will now go to green as they head down the hill for the first time into Primera. Good start by Brandon Wilson as now the GTDs get underway, and it's 3 wide. Well, it's 2 wide. It's Brian Bennett versus Robert Cast as Cast leads the GTD field into turn 1 at Primera. Meantime, the GTPs are making their way out of turn 4, and it's the long run over the crest through into Torre Vip. Brandon Wilson has got the advantage here, mainly because of the fact he's got no one in front of him. And this is where we're going to see a little bit of dynamic racing in the form of can you make it through the corner? Nice little move there by Walker Carroll through on Robert Tinsey. Cadin Richardson has dropped down the order to the back end of the LMP2 side of things. Dominic Dernberg, in the meantime, has returned to garage into the pit lane. We ride on board with Robert Tinsey from Satellite Racing.
It looks like we had a couple incidents. We have Dernberg and Richardson both with incidents here. We'll take a look here real fast at Dominic Dernberg.
Okay. So Dominic Dernberg in the composite performances Acura. So this is going to be going into Torre Vip. Okay, let's see. Runs deep and then comes into, well, he's trying to rejoin, and I'm not too sure if he had an issue there. So, but he's now rejoined to the circuit. Cadin Richardson, in the meantime, well, he's trying to keep himself out of trouble, and it's all about tippy-toeing around this circuit, but he got a tag. He got a tag there. I think that might have been from Matt Brewer.
Yeah, I just kind of came across the nose right there and just got together. We were almost 3 wide at that point, so unfortunate there for Richardson. Start on the pole. He's now back to 4th in that LMP2. Let's see if he can make his way back up there as we look at Robert Tinsey right here.
Yeah, I did see that Brandon Wilson did have a moment coming out of Galp, going over the sausage curb on the outside, so he leads after the opening lap. So lap time's very different to what we saw in qualifying as the rain continues to fall here at Portimao. Rooster tails here, there and everywhere, and one of the GTDs goes exit stage left. That might have been Ryan Wasilewski in the number 86 Aston Martin. Robert Carr still leads in the GTD class. Carter Cunningham running in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. Cadin Richardson now back up into P3. It is like treading on eggshells here at Portimao. I mean, we haven't had much drama, but it is the case of just try and keep the car on the tarmac. Stay away from the curbs is one of the big things on a saturated track. As you can see there, that's Paul Slavonic, who's moved up from the 6th spot on the GTD AM grid. He's now running P3, so the Porsche should have a little bit of an advantage, but he runs a little bit deep into the braking zone at Torre Vip at turn 5, loses out to he's got Bradley Haley in front of him. As you can see, Bradley Haley in the 428 Sector 5 Haley Agency Ford Mustang GTD is running blind like everybody else, and everyone's got the high beams on at the moment. So it's early days in this race, but with the way that the rain has set in and hit the circuit hard, and with the track temperature being lower than the air temperature, there's no real signs of potential evolution in terms of the track drying out here, Chris, and the drivers are just going to have to be on a wing and a prayer right now.
Yeah, I think this rain's going to continue throughout the whole event, but like you said, even if it does stop even halfway through this race, they're still going to stay wet out here, stay on the wet tires in these conditions. This rain is really building up. There's a lot of spray, as it looks like we got a couple. Is that Wasilewski down there on the inside of Kinger? I think that is right there.
That's that is a nice little move by Wasilewski for Satellite Racing in the number 3, the 3rd place, number 86 Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3. Robert Cast has dropped he put it on pole position in GTD. He's all the way down at the back end of the GTD class, but he's going to try and see if he can go around the outside. I think that would have been on David Fernandez, and Robert Cast goes off circuit, so that could be more than likely a slowdown penalty for our pole sitter. But at that point, well, because the track is absolutely sopping wet, I'm not at all surprised that there have been minimal track infringements. But, I think Sheldon Rosenbaum just went off the circuit, and he's just lost it coming out of Primera. He went a bit too deep into turn 1, used the runoff area, and then came back out onto the track, hit the wet curbing. The Corvette spun around instantly, so the 87 now finds himself down a little bit further than where he would want to be, and that's going to be P6 in GTD AM. But nevertheless, it's been quite composed, because one of the things we said about traction earlier, Chris, that it is at a premium at this circuit with this rain. I mean, it is continually non-stop deluge, and I think maybe a few drivers might have thought, well, if the setup's not going to work for me around here, I'm not going to take that chance.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, and it looked like that might have been the case with Dornberg. I don't know if maybe he made a poor tire selection, didn't get the wets on. I'm not sure, but kind of stopped. He's back on the track now, but he was in the pits for a long period of time, about almost 3 minutes complete. But I'm actually really surprised. This is some really challenging conditions. We've seen a few mistakes here and there, but for the most part, we really haven't seen a lot of drivers off. We haven't seen a lot of contact, other than that little bit of contact with Richardson. But actually, we look at Richardson's right now, and he's made his way back up to second in the LMP2. And he is actually closing in on the back of Walker Carroll. So Richardson really liking these conditions here at Portimao.
Yeah, it seems like he started to get a bit to grips with it. So, and considering the fact that he did put it on pole, he did on the opening lap. I think that's the thing when you're on cold tyres, cold brakes. You've had one formation lap, and so it's relatively a trek into the unknown, and that's always the big thing with these kind of conditions. And you can see that Jason King is keeping to the right hand side of the start finish straight just to keep out of that spray, so he's got some visibility point, because your brake markers go out of the window. How you set the brake balance on the car, that's also going to be another bone of contention as well. So it is about just the little tweaks here and there that can make all the difference. But Cadine Richardson really starting to close in on Walker Carroll, and last time around Walker Carroll's last lap was his fastest one. It was a 1:56.3. Cadine Richardson 1:54.4, so nearly 2 seconds quicker was the man that currently leads the LMP2 points at this halfway point of the season, as we are only 7 minutes in. And look at the amount of wheel work that you're seeing on board with Cadine Richardson. That is just showing a front end that is not being very compliant in very difficult conditions, because as soon as the front tyres hit a splash puddle, you get that good old aquaplaning situation.
Yeah, really fighting the wheel right there, but just doing a great job. Had that little incident earlier, but he's really made up for it. Now he is running down Carroll in a big hurry. And look throughout the, there's so much going on right here. I wish I could do a split screen and get more action, but we're just trying to jump around and find what we can. Here's Robert Cass trying to make his way back up after losing some spots. He's closing up on the back of Brian Bennett. But we're just going to see if he can back up through there.
Yeah, he's got some damage to the front end of that bump.
Oh, he does.
Front end of that Aston Martin. So there must have been a little incident early doors. So Robert Cast has got a bit of front end damage. It's not going to hurt him that much, because we both know, Chris, that with it, as we're going to see a replay here from Robert Tinsey for Satellite Racing in the 82, with a little bit of smooth slowdown action, courtesy of Mr. Murphy there. And that's an over rotation that he didn't need, and Robert Tinsey unfortunately over rotates the car, and that was coming out of turn number 11 at Portimao. So again, and now we're going to see how quickly it will be before Brandon Wilson catches up to the GTDs. Well, he's already put a lap down on Sheldon Rosenbaum, so we'll make that probably nearly 2 laps, and there is the man himself. So I think we might have had a possible issue with the liveries, folks, so don't worry, we are keeping with the races as they are at the moment. So these things do happen. There's been a lot of updates in the meantime over the course of season 1 2026, but look at the rooster tail that Brandon Wilson's punting up into the air from that BMW MV8 hybrid as he makes his way through into turn 1. I mean, Brandon, we've seen always has, once he's on it, once we've seen from him with the battles that he's had so far this season with Pat Pelchat, they know each other very, very well. Pat not here tonight, so this gives Brandon an opportunity to really help himself to move up the order, because the thing is, it's 11 points between him, Nathan Dowd, Harrison Higgins and Dominic Dernberg, and those are the only 4 that have braved the conditions here at Portimao here tonight, as we're about to hit 1/6 of the timer ticking down, so we're nearly at the 10-minute mark. So there's Matt Brewer coming through into shot, and there is Cadine Richardson in the 082. He's holding on to that second position, but he's within 8.5 tenths of Walker Carroll, who we've seen doing really, really well. Rich Minkler has got himself up 2 spots now, but the big news in the GTD app side of things is Paul Slavonic. He started 6th on the grid. He's now P1 at the minute in the Acura as he comes down the hill in the 528 Acura NSX GT3 Evo out of the final corner.
Oh, they're getting loose.
Oh, that's. Oh, that was a Porsche in front of him. I think that was Jason King having a bit of a wobble. It's very difficult sometimes to pick out the liveries, and it was. Hang on a second. I think that was the 412. It was Jason Kinger. So, yeah, and King is to the. Oh, don't put it there, Jason. That's going to. But the good thing was, Paul Slavonic decided, right, I'm going to open up the steering, keep myself out of harm's way, and both of these cars are very, very capable in the wet, especially the Porsche. 4 litre flat 6-boxer engine. But look who's behind. Paul Slavonic is a man. Oh no, that's Fernandez. Fernandez and King have just come together on the run to Torre Vip. Oh, I can't believe it. David Fernandez had the run, but you've got to understand this, folks. When you are racing in the blind in rooster tail sprays like we have been seeing, that can quickly happen. And David Fernandez. So we're going to have a look. Yeah. I mean, basically.
Go back a little further here.
I was just about to say, because that's the.
I like to rewind, but
we don't like to. Yeah, we don't like to rewind. But they're coming up the hill, and you can see that David Fernandez has got a good run, and there's the contact. I don't think, if I'm honest, Jason Kinger might have seen David Fernandez on that one, and David Fernandez, the only man who is from Portugal in this grid here tonight. Really looking forward to seeing Samuel de Oliveira, but David Fernandez, that is a car that is crabbing. So that left rear has taken a brunt of the damage, and David is going to put that into pit lane and get that repaired. Dale Green, in the meantime, in the 979 Aston Martin, has also gone off the circuit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think David, looking at that is, I think David could have moved over a little more to the left, given a little bit more space in these conditions. But, I think you're also right. I don't know if Jason even saw him there or not, but unfortunate for David at his home track. I know him and both. We talked to Samuel last race, and they were both looking forward to this race. So, probably Samuel's not here, and unfortunate there for David.
Yeah, would have been a great battle to see the two Portuguese drivers. There's some great drivers that race all over the world from this very nation, including a man, if you love your WeatherTech IMSA Sportscar Championship action, if you haven't heard of Philippe Albuquerque, where have you been living? Under a rock near the Algarve, maybe, for the last few years? He's one of their biggest exports, along with Antonio Felix da Costa, who was a former, well, both former Red Bull Junior drivers, as that is Slavonic backwards off of Torre Vip, and that's huge damage for the Acura. Oh my Gideon, and we're not even a quarter of the way through this race. Paul Slavonic, who was leading the GTD AM class, that is going to be a return to garage 100%, but the speed.
He went off in a hurry.
Well, that car swapped ends as well. So Slavonic, let's have a look, is going to be under braking. And look, he's veered. Oh, he's gone onto that white line, that painted white line, and all of a sudden the back end's decided, no, you're a passenger now, my friend. He's tried to turn into it. It's skidded off the circuit, over the curb, bounced a little bit into the air, backwards into the barriers at about 90 miles an hour, and that car is not going to go anywhere apart from backwards, and bang, straight away, Paul Slavonic's Acura takes a big hit, and the rear end is an absolute mess.
I'm actually surprised he didn't have the brakes locked up. We also looks like we may have had an off here from Brian Bennett as well.
Yeah, I think the thing is I think the big thing is that with regards to these conditions, if you hold the brakes, it makes it even worse, because effectively that contact patch is going to keep you skidding along even quicker. So
good point.
By doing that, he's trying to slow, and he's gone on the curbing. He's gone on the curbing, and so Brian Bennett is around, and hopefully he does not hit any scenery apart from the grass and the cones, and luckily enough, Brian Bennett got away with that one. But Paul Slavonic having a big old moment. Here's Matt Brewer in the LMP2 class. He's also going for a bit of a
dirt tracking right there.
Oh my goodness me! It's like he's trying to find the cushion, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
My goodness,
nice callback.
And that's going through the final corner, I think, at Galp. The rain has really, as I said, put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons. That is big damage for Paul Slavonic. He's been in pit road for now well over 60 seconds. And I think David Fernandez has actually decided to retire from the race, and there is some discussion in Discord at the moment, so I will do a little bit of Inspector Clouseau investigation, so to speak. Well, I should say, yeah, and I think David Fernandez not very happy about what happened with the incident involving him and Jason Kinger. So at this point, well, Carter Kundinger doing a very good job in the composite performances, Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, and he has got a whopping lead over Bradley Haley. It's now 7.8 seconds. So Carter doing a really, really good job just to make sure that he gets across the line first. Robert Cast is still with that slightly forlorn Aston Martin V8 Vantage, doing a pretty sterling job there. So the thing is, it's all about gathering those points on the boards, and Robert Cast will not feel any problem unless that car is tracking a little bit off centre, so to speak, as we ride on board with Ryan Wasilewski for Satellite Racing in the 3rd spot in the 86 Aston Martin, and he's got Robert Cast not too far behind him, so yeah, 0.7 of a second. And it is just about getting that rotation through the corners. So we are 17 minutes in to this 1-hour race here at the Algarve circuit at Portimao, and Robert Cast is definitely trying to put the wind up the sails of Ryan Wasilewski.
Right
goes
there.
deep on the brakes. Yeah, that was a bit too deep, I think, but nevertheless, Robert keeping that car. I mean, the good thing is he'll be able to effect a repair whilst he's in the pit lane for his pit stop, so that'll negate what's happening at the moment. So looking at his lap times, no, he's doing pretty well. He's just done a 58.2, 59.0 for Wasilewski, and Robert Cast now does get the move done. So Wasilewski, I think, might have just, you can just look at the splash we've got here in the centre of the screen as the raindrops hit it. That is a sign that the rain is not going away. And I know that there is a sister country, as they say, as we would say in the UK, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plane, but unfortunately I can't say anything about how I could rhyme it with Portugal.
The rain is mainly falling on Portimao at the moment. Can we rhyme that with something?
Yes, exactly. Well, no. I mean, the thing is that us Brits have a way of... yeah, there's an in-house joke that normally says, so the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plane, but the rain in Calcutta goes straight down the gutter. so it basically is like word association. So I think if someone tried to say the word Portugal in that, you probably wouldn't have anything wrong that would sound like it rolls off the tongue, if you see what I'm saying, Chris.
I hear you.
But nevertheless, for our drivers at the moment who have nearly made it to the 20-minute mark, they've done a pretty good job so far. It was always going to be a case of just making sure that you cross the T's, dot the I's, and stay with the black stuff more than anything else.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes into this, and it's been 20 minutes of just a downpour, and you can see there on the screen raindrops still falling. You know, I feel for David Fernandez, like you said, he doesn't look very happy, but I think if he went back and looked at that, took an impartial kind of look at it as we saw, I think maybe both of them could have given a little more space, but I do feel sorry for David. These guys spend a ton of time practicing for these events. I mean, it's been almost a month since our last race, and I know that they're on here like 2 hours before each race, each night, practicing, making laps, and you know they knew there was going to be rain, so you know they were doing some more practicing off to the side as well. So I understand the frustration from these drivers. I've been there. And sometimes when you get a chance to kind of sit back and think about it again, you'll kind of see things a little bit differently. So, but like you said, everybody kind of doing a good job here so far. We've had a few incidences here and there, but for the most part, it's been pretty clean.
Yeah. So at the 20-minute, well, as we head towards the 20-minute mark, let's give you a roundup of our top three in the respective classes. So we first of all head to Brandon Wilson for Hyperion Racing in the GTP class, the overall race leader with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.469 leads. Harrison Higgins for Fury Simsport rounds out your top two, and then Nathan Dowd for Sector 5 Haley Agency. rounding out the top 3 in the Cadillac. Then we go to LMP2. It's Fury Sim Sports Walker Carroll that leads, ahead of series leader Colin Richardson in the 082, and then Robert Tinsey in the 82. For Satellite Racing rounds out your top 3. GTD, it's Mercedes leading the way with Carter Cunningham in the 02 Merc, with Bradley Haley in the 428 Mustang. The Sector 5 Haley Agency in second position, and then it's GT Dynamics' very own Rod Cast in the number 42 Aston Martin. Then finally GTD AM, it's Rich Minkler in the 908 Porsche that leads the way, and it's a Porsche 1-2 because Mark Kudrowski in the 00 is in second, and it's Chris Sherburn in the 007 Acura NSX for Goldschmidt Racing. That rounds out your GTD AM top 3. So there is your Autobahn top 3 roundup so far. But the thing is now, Robert Cast has really got the measure of these conditions in that slightly front-end damaged Aston Martin. So he got past Ryan Wasilewski. He's now dropped him to the tune of 3.2 seconds and is comfortably catching up with Bradley Haley. And looking at the lap times, Robert Cast was nearly a second quicker on the last tour. So the Aston Martin in the hands of Robert Cast really coming to form here in the mid part of this race.
Yeah, he dropped a spot early with a little bit of mistake, but starting to come up through the pack. He is setting a blistering pace. He's run up on the back of Haley right now, but does he have enough to run down Cuttinger? We're going to have a pit stop here pretty soon. I'm guessing probably within the next 9 to 10 minutes, at least somewhere close to the halfway we normally see in these races. So and that's also going to shake some stuff, shake up a little bit as you come off that last corner. Trying to get into the pits as well is also going to be a challenge in the rain because nobody's been down there, at least on the racetrack. They're at least moving a little bit of the water around with those rain tires, but there's only been very few cars down pit road, so that might get challenging as well.
Yeah, Harrison Higgins has just pitted from GTP from second position, and Matt Brewer has just pitted in LMP2. But Paul Slavonic has been in the pit lane for 8.5 minutes, and I don't think that Acura is going to be rejoined anytime soon. So change is afoot in GTP, so Nathan Dowd now takes P2. After Harrison Higgins decided for the 53.963 Porsche Hybrid of Fury Simsport to decide to go into pit lane. Riding on board with Bradley Haley, who has lost that second position in the GTD class to Robert Cast, who is now starting to put the afterburner jets on, so to speak, in that Aston Martin, with this 5.4 litre naturally aspirated V8 Coyote engine underneath this very, very long front bonnet. I mean, that's a characteristic that both the Aston Martin and the Mustang do share, whereas the Aston Martin has a little bit more of a, in terms of car design, the Aston Martin is a bit more conducive to aerodynamics, whereas there is the running gag of the fact that with regards to the Mustang, it is as aerodynamic as a Sherman tank when it comes to GT sports car racing, but still that power and prowess that the car has still means it's a good car to wrestle with. But it is going to be the case of how do you get around these obstacles, which effectively here at Portimao is the rain.
Yeah, looking here at Wilson again, way out. I mean, a minute to the good back to Dowd, and at this pace, he may put a lap on his entire field tonight, Alex. But we looked at Higgins. You talked about Higgins pitting early, and actually, he must be having some kind of a problem because he's now been in the pits for over 2 minutes. I'm not quite sure what's going on there with Harrison Higgins. I did not see any kind of an off or anything with him, but definitely there's some kind of issue.
Same for Matt Brewer as well. He's been in the pit lane for well over 2 minutes. So Harrison Higgins. Oh, no, that is Brian Bennett. I think that has just, was it? I think it might have just spun.
Yep.
Yep, it was Brian Bennett in the 161. Now, obviously, Brian was leading the GTD AMS before he got promoted to GTD, and so he's trying to get that now. I don't think there's any damage. I think it's just a little bit of pride hurting after that unfortunate spin. But you're going to see it here. He turns the car in. The back end is just going to go. Now, is he going to hit that painted white line?
Again, yep.
Oh, and he's gone on the curbing. He's gone to accelerate. So on that particular occasion, it looked pretty straightforward. And there is Brandon Wilson closing in, and Brian keeps out of the way onto the white line, onto the curbing, and round goes the McLaren at turn 11.
Yeah, he just tried to move out of the way there, Richardson, and drove up onto the curb onto the white paint. And as we've seen so far, you get up onto that paint and onto the curbing here, it is a little slicker. And unfortunately, it caught Bennett right there, but he was really just trying to get out of the way right there. But it ended up costing him a lot more time.
Yeah, that it did. So Brandon Wilson doing exactly what he needs to do. He's got a 1 minute and 7 second advantage over Nathan Dowd. Dominic Dernberg, I know that Matt Brewer was in Discord chat, and he put up a GIF, and the words were "I suck." So probably I think he's probably done a bit too much damage, and it looks like he has retired from the race at the 11 after 11 laps. So that's a real shame for Matt Brewer. He could have. Well, I mean, the thing is that he could do very much with the points. And currently at the minute, well, he joined us at Motegi. He's only done 3 rounds so far. And Matt Brewer was actually our winner back at Mosport on November 10th last year. He's only partaken in 3 races. He was 4th at Motegi, 1st at Mosport, and then back at Road America he was 6th in the end of it all. But the way things are going, I mean, we've got no Metcha Denise, so he might lose. Well, yes, we have got Rob Tinsley here as well. Walker Carroll, if he gets the most amount of points on this, which will be 25 for a win. Of course, there are additional points for the classes as well, which means that if you have a 0x race, if you have the pole position, if you have the fastest lap of the race. So Brandon Wilson at the moment is on course, possibly for a maximum score of what will be 29 points, because you get 2 additional points for a 0x race, clean race, and he's currently got the pole position and the fastest lap so far. Gideon Richardson has got the fastest lap in LMP2, which is just set, would you believe it, 1:51.922, and he was on pole position. Whether he's had a clean race is anyone's, well, it could be up for as a topic for discussion. Carter Kundiger, though, has made the most moves up the order in the GTD, and as you can see, the high-level brake light is flashing away, so that effectively becomes the de facto rain light for drivers behind to say, okay, there is a car in front of you. So a good job here by the man from Composite Performances in the 02 Merc, and he's got a 10.7 second gap over Robert Cast. Chris Sherburne doing a really good job in the AM side of things. I mean, he started P3, he is still in P3, but he's closing in on Mark Kudrowski. So the Acura in his hands really starting to love these conditions a bit. The same can't be said, unfortunately, for fellow Acura driver Paul Slavonic, who has been in the pits, folks, for nearly 14.5 minutes. So Paul Slavonic will not be coming out, I'm afraid, unless he's going to get that damage repaired. I mean, that was a big old hit. That's probably at least 20 to 25 minutes worth of damage that Paul sustained on the back end of that Acura when he went sliding off the top of it for turn 5, and then went backwards hard into the barriers at about 80-90 miles an hour and rearranged the rear end, which needs more plastic surgery than Kim Kardashian at the best of times. But nevertheless, you know, it's a shame when Paul was doing so well. He was P3 at that time, one wrong move on the painted white line, and that is one of the biggest things in the wet. The curbing isn't that bad, but it's that painted white line that can cause problems. As there we see returning Harrison Higgins now 4th in the GTP side of things. But yeah, I mean, the way that Brandon Wilson is he's just putting on a clinic. I mean, as soon as he got pole position, I went, it's probably going to be game over for everybody else. It was going to be a case that Brandon was just going to, you know, let the race unfold and drive it as he sees fit. Harrison Higgins just gets a slow down penalty for exceeding track limits here at Portimao. But yeah, I think it's just the case that Brandon's just running comfortable at the moment. He just does not seem to be flustered in any way, shape or form. He's just, as the track evolves over the course of the race itself, he's just putting the car where he needs to and not take any undue risk. And that's one of the things in these rain conditions, Mr. Murphy, that we both know about, that we've been talking about for the last 40 odd minutes or so, that it's just about getting through the race. It's not always about going for the ultimate fastest lap.
Yeah, and you know, my years of experience dirt racing, as soon as it starts to rain, we load up and go home. But these guys are out here pushing through it, and Wilson's just doing a really good job He's just, you just watch him. He's just being smooth. When we have looked in the in-car with him, he's just very small movements on the wheel. You know, and a lot of times what we're seeing him put down some pretty good laps here. He's a couple 2 to 3 seconds faster than anybody else in the field here right now. And sometimes when you slow down like that and just get smooth, you end up getting faster and faster. And I think that's exactly what's happened here. You know, Wilson is minute 14 out in front of Dowd right now, and Dowd and Higgins have both been running good here of late. So just Wilson has just got this range set up down, and he's really comfortable out there right now.
I wonder if he's got a Hyperion Spidey sense going on at the minute as well. You know, it's just one of those things that when you see one person is absolutely calm and cool about things. Also, Kadeen Richardson is starting to gather pace and trying to close in on Walker Carroll. Took 8/10 of him out of him on the last lap, as we're going to see on board with one of the drivers that we always like to have on track, Mo Islam, for composite performances in the number 91, and he's going to run a little bit wide. Oh, that's not going to help him. Tail end snaps out. He manages to point it in the right direction, cops a slowdown penalty as a result of it. So does Mark Kudrowski and the 00. Mark's been doing really well in this race, and Mark has not had the best of luck so far. I mean, he hasn't played. I mean, the first race of the series at Daytona on September 23rd was his best result so far, which was a third place finish, so hit the rostrum. Then 8th at Road Atlanta, missed out on Motegi, went to Mosport, finished 6th, finished 5th at Long Beach, and then last time out at Road America finished P7. So with some of the drivers not being here, it gives others like Kudrowski, and now he's got Sherburne closing in, so it's rear-wheel drive, rear-engine versus mid-engine rear-wheel drive, so Porsche versus Acura. And at the moment, well, it is a Porsche 1-2 meritocracy at the GTD and classification, but can the Acura of Gone Broke Racing's Chris Sherburne in the 007 Acura get through on the 00 of Mark Kudrowski? They go through into turn 12 and into 13, and that's one of the things when you go down the hill into 12 and then it's uphill to turn 13, and then you've got this run through into Sagres, which then starts to go downhill. And when I was commentating on Porsche and Sports Cup Swiss, we had Ethan Isher and Dylan Yip battling away when they were rubbing paint coming down through the final corner. Walker Carroll has just entered the pit lane, so the first of the LMP2 runners for an official pit stop at the 33-minute mark. But Chris Sherburne really starting to, it's like he's become the wheelman on a getaway robbery. He's chasing after the man that's got the jewels out of the safe.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can here to run down Kudrowski. Kudrowski with a couple of mistakes there. Sherburne not able to capitalize as we saw Kudrowski come off the corner, spin the tires. As they've got Walker Carroll coming through here, putting a lap on Carroll, or excuse me, Sherburne working his way around Kudrowski. So let's see if Sherburne can follow Carroll through here. But he's kind of had to back off quite a bit. He's running up on the back of that LMP2 car right now.
That's one of the things, because it kind of equalises the ledger a little bit, and more to the point, you know, top speeds we're seeing from Dominic Dernberg, 180 miles an hour. LMP2s around about 160. GTDs and GTD Gabs were looking at about 152, 53. And so these drivers are just really having to pick their moments, as we are now Dale Green in the 979. Aston Martin has just pitted. Ryan Wyszlewski in GTD has just come out of pit lane. Or no, he's actually retired. Oh, so Ryan Wyszlewski, what's happened to the man from Satellite Racing in the number 86 car? That's interesting. So that means we've got one driver out. So at the moment, retirees are as follows. Well, Paul Slavonic, after 16 minutes, has returned to the circuit. So here is Ryan Wyszlewski. Quite interesting. It feels like everyone's getting a bit of a free wash at the moment. Not to because look at the first four. Oh no!
That's gonna hurt.
No, this is going to be a big incident coming out of Galp, and that is going to be right front into the barriers hard. That's going to break the suspension. steering arm, the lower suspension arms on that car, and that is going to go spinning. He's trying to hold on to the brakes. He has to let go to stop the over rotation of the vehicle, because as soon as you lock up the brakes on a car, once it has an impact, that car will move at a significant rate, because as soon as you've got two stationary contact surfaces that are both wet and they make contact with each other, it's going to be like frictional force, and it's directional as well, depending on how things happen. Nathan Dowd has just entered pit lane in the Sector 5 Cadillac from P2 on the field, and that is now going to mean that Brandon Wilson has, as you rightly said, at the just under 36 minutes of this race, Brandon Wilson has lapped the entirety of the field.
That is just... That's just crazy right here. I mean, with this group of drivers we see in the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge are some of the top drivers out here. And Wilson just running away with this thing. We talked before the show. It looked like it was going to be Wilson's race to win, but I surely did not expect this. He has just definitely had the pace. He's been out there calm, smooth this whole race, and just running away with this right now. I mean, we might see Dowd to get back on the lead lap once Wilson pits, but I don't think it's going to last for very long.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, when you think about it, looking at Brandon's results, I mean, he's had 3 wins so far, and effectively this is going to be him on course for win number 4, so that will eclipse the amount of wins that Pat Pelchat has had this season. So looking at the results so far, of course, we did see in Daytona as he dives to the inside of Brian Bennett. A lot of velocity there, and with complete conviction. He's got a car that is working really, really well, that BMW M8 Hybrid, and just recently caught up with the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship preview on YouTube, and the obviously Team RLL were the stalwarts for BMW for many a year, with the likes of Messrs Rahal, Lanigan and Letterman. Of course, the Letterman refers to ex-talk show host David Letterman and IndyCar legend Bobby Rahal. That's the Rahal name. They're now with McLaren in GTD for this year, and ran the GTB project, and now that's going to be in the hands of Vincent Voss and the team from Belgium, Team WRT, who have got some great drivers, including we have another Magnussen returning to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, because it was Jan at one point, and now son Kevin, ex-F1 driver, now jumps into IMSA for 2026, and I'm really excited to see how that happens. Oh, well, Rob Cast has just been hit with a black flag penalty. I would say that's probably for too many incident points, possibly, because he hasn't pitted yet. So, yeah, Rob's now got to serve a black flag penalty, I'm afraid. So I think he's gone over the track limits a little bit too often. But still, he's just come in, so he'll have to serve that black flag, but he can't get a pit stop at that point. So he's going to have to come around and do it all over again. But more to the point, looking at it from this perspective, these weather conditions have really helped with the fuel mileage for certain drivers, Brandon Wilson being one of them, because we're nearly at the 39-minute mark here, Chris. He has not pitted. Colin Richardson and Robert Tinsey have not yet pitted in LMP2. GTDs, as Robert Cast, that may have put him over the incident limit point there. And that would be all she wrote. Bradley Haley in the Sector 5 Haley Agency 428 Mustang. Now this is what I love about working with you, buddy, when we get these slow-mo replays. I keep on hearing Swan Lake whenever these slow-mo replays come up in my ears. There's the yellow submarine of Dale Green just up ahead in the 979 Aston. We haven't seen much of Dale in the broadcast, but I think Bradley is going to be probably on the... Let's just see. Is this going to be a moment of over-rotation for the Mustang? Yep, there we go. He's trying to chat. Well, he channeled his inner Vaughan Kitten Jr. on that one to stop that slide from going any further.
It wasn't exciting as I thought it was going to be, but
no, I was hoping for something a bit more magical. Let's say is what the terminology I'd use there, Chris. But more to the point, he kept it under control. So, yeah, Robert Cast does need to serve that black flag, otherwise otherwise he will be disqualified from the session. He's got to serve that within a couple of laps. Now, whether he there's Mark Kudrowski. We were singing his praises earlier on, and he's just lost it, and that's Porsche doing Porsche things, so that would have been up the hill. So
lots of replays in tonight.
Yeah, they all. I mean, the thing is that when you're racing under these conditions, the back end steps out on the Porsche, so the rear engine car is going to have a bit more center of gravity towards the back end, spinning the rear tires, trying to get the car rotated around, which gives Chris Sherburn the inside.
And our
there's
leader,
Brandon Wilson, and Brandon Wilson dives around there as well. So, but Mark Kudrowski still holds on. Robert Cast now into pit lane, but you can just see here, Chris Sherburn from his on board goes, okay, right. Mark's lost it. Here's my opportunity. And it's a case of, do I go left? Do I go right? And there's the input to straighten up the car and then turn it back to the right again. So Robert Cast is now serving his black flag penalty and was at one point leading the race at the GT Dynamics Aston Martin. Number 42, but Brandon Wilson still yet to pit. We are fast approaching the final quarter of the time allocated to this race, 60 minutes in total. And the thing is that one of the points that I was just about to allude to before we saw Mark Kudrowski's spin, Chris, is the fact that when you have rain on a circuit, you are constantly treading on eggshells, and you don't know whether there's going to be any further problems, as we see Colleen Richardson. And when you get to, like, say, you've got a 60-minute race in a race that it hasn't changed conditions one iota, it has been slipperier than an NHL hockey rink at the moment, ice rink at the moment, you'd start to get tired because you're even more on to enderhooks and your eyeballs are still on stalls.
Yeah, you're Richardson coming out of the pits here. No, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you're just even more we talked about it a lot of times in a lot of different races, just how much concentration this takes, more than most people would really expect. Then you get in these kind of situations, and it's even more stressful. But the one thing I want to mention, that incident there with Kudrowski and Sherburn, we watched the in-car there from Sherburn. It just, the experience that Sherburn had right there to just make a slight little move, and not it's really easy when you see a car spinning in front of you like that to want to abruptly turn one way or the other. And Chris just barely turned the wheel just a little bit to the left, just enough to go around Kudrowski, and didn't do anything crazy, which I'm sure Brandon Wilson right there behind him also appreciated.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the now retired Katsumatsu Chiyo for Nissan, and there was a big incident at the opening round of the Autobahn Super GT Championship at Okayama early last year in February. And there was a 3-car incident that caused a massive red flag, but Katsumatsu Chiyo, that was what kind of came into my head when I saw what Chris Sherburn was doing. So, do I go left, do I go right? And while Kudrowski, rotating the car, Sherburn straightens the car up and goes, right, I'm sticking there. And that just helped him out quite a lot. So at the moment, Robert Cast is the only driver around the GTD that is pitted, but that is to serve a black flag penalty. Carter Kundiger, Jason Kinger are 37 seconds apart. So coming up to the final 15 minutes of this 7th round of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge season 2025-2026. Let's give you the Autobahn top 3 rundown in the respective classes. So it is Brandon Wilson leading for Hyperion Racing in the number 4 BMW V8 Hybrid. Nathan Dowd in the Sector 5 Haley Agency. The Caddy gets a little bit of a wobble in the 07, but he rounds out second. And Dominic Dernberg in the Composite Performances Acura 06 GTB rounds out your top 3. Robert Tinsey is now in pit lane and is leading, but that means that he will change. That will be handed back over to series leader Colleen Richardson, who's just coming across the stripe now, retakes the lead. And then we've got Walker Carroll, who's coming across the line. He will take P2. So at the moment, Robert Tinsey was at the top of the LMP2 Autobahn top 3 rundown, and now has ended up in P3 as I was talking. Carter Kundiger continues to lead in the 02 Composite Performances Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3 Evo. Then it's the 412 of Solpec Precision Racing's Jason Kinger in second place, and then Bradley Haley in the 428 Ford Mustang for Sector 5 Haley Agency. Rounds out your GTD top 3. Rich Minkler is leading in the Solpec Precision 412 Porsche, ahead of Chris Sherburn in the 007 Acura for Conbroke Racing, and then Mark Kudrowski in the 00 Porsche 992 GT3R rounds out your top 3 in GTD AM as Kudrowski goes down into pit lane. So 60 kilometers an hour, which is effectively about fourth. I think it's about. I know that 50 kilometers an hour is 30 miles an hour, so probably talking about 40 miles an hour pit lane speed. So
don't ask me.
What we're seeing, yeah, no, I should know. I mean, 50 miles an hour is 80 kilometers an hour. 100 kilometers an hour is 62 miles an hour, and then 60 kph is 40 miles an hour as Harrison Higgins makes his way through, and that is going to be on Rich Minkler.
Who needs Google when you have Alex Goldschmidt here?
Hey. Yeah, forget Alexa. Forget Siri. Or,
yeah, I got Alexa.
Yeah. Well, you got Siri for Apple. You got Alexa for Google. You got Cortana from what was it, Microsoft? If anyone might remember that AI assistant back in the day. But I can't believe this. This race has just been absolutely saturated, as now we see Carter Kundiger after 46.5 minutes come out of pit lane. 14-second stop for the Composite Performance 02 Merc, so Carter Kundiger doing more than enough. Jason Kinger is ahead, but by literally a handful of seconds. He just goes through shot in turn 2, heading into Lagos in turn 3. So Bradley Haley now comes into pit lane. And we have had, as we said a little bit earlier, some retirees. David Fernandez and Sheldon Rosenbaum in GTD AM. Ryan Wachelski in GTD after having a spin coming out of turn 15 and then hitting right front hard. And great to see Paul Slavonic back on the grid, on the field, as the 528 Acura currently sitting in 5th place. That will net him around about 16 points and currently leads GTD AMS as things stand.
You know, we talked about this other races before too, and one thing I really like to see here, Slavonic sat in the pits for 16 minutes, probably got up, had a sandwich, had a drink while the car was being prepared there by the crew. But you know, I just like people that don't quit. I like people that don't give up. And Slavonic, you know, had a big off right there, backed it into the fence, but got it repaired. He's going to get out here and get as many points as he can. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to make up any ground on Dale Green. Move up a spot.
Hang on. Brian Bennett's just got a black flag, and that's not what he needed at this stage. Oh dear. So Brian's probably had the same drama as Robert Cast. That probably would have been too many track limit infringements, which means incident points. And he's been off the circuit again, and that has really that's the straw that's broken the camel's back. No!
Ask him enough to do some damage to that right rear. You can see it towed in a little bit more than it on the top there.
Well, as I said, that is the straw that broke the camel's back for Brian Bennett, so he's going to have to pull that into pit lane. Jason Kinger now brings the 412 Porsche for Solpec Precision Racing into pit lane. Brian Bennett will come in to serve his black flag. Mo Islam has also gotten a black flag. So, as I did say, when you're on a rain-sodden circuit and you've been racing for over 45 minutes, you are going to be mentally and physically tired. And here comes Mo Islam at the moment. He's coming down through Galp, so I'm sure that he will steer the car to the right and then go down into pit lane. So here he comes through the 15th and final corner. There is Killian Richardson still leading, but look at this. It was kind of boot on the other foot, so to speak. Mo Islam has dived into pit road, but Walker Carroll, who was leading the race, did have a couple of drivers behind him, including Robert Tinsey, who unfortunately spun the car earlier on. Tinsey now quite a way back from this battle, about 36 seconds. So Carroll was leading, and I think at one point Killian Richardson was actually chasing him down, and then Killian dropped down the order. But more to the point, This is the battle for the LMP2 class lead. They've already done a pit stop respectively. Walker Carroll, I think, might have taken tyres because his pit stop was 21.6 seconds. Kadin Richardson was only 12.5 on his marks in the pit lane, so he has stayed with the same tyres. 10 minutes left to go here at the Autobahn Internacional do Algarve for round 7 of the 2025-2026 Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here live from the JPBroadcasting network. Thank you so much for everyone that's been tuning in. You're in the company of Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Murphy. And more to the point, now Walker Carroll has an opportunity here, Chris, because Kadin Richardson, if he did not decide to take tyres, he might be at the mercy of the man behind him.
Yeah, Walker Carroll looks to be having a little bit better pace. I'm trying to look at the last lap. Carroll was about 0.4 of a second faster the last lap, and he is reeling Richardson in. They've got the lap car there of Robert Cast, and Robert Cast has been struggling here as of late. He had some damage. He got a black flag. He has definitely not a race here for Robert Cast. He's been wanting to have, but he's going to let Richardson go by. Here comes Carroll trying to make his way around the lap car and actually having a little bit more trouble than Richardson did. So that is going to put a little bit more of a gap. Richardson able to stretch that out by about a half a second more as they try to get around the lap car of Robert Cast.
Yeah, so, and Walker Carroll has an opportunity here, but the gap has increased to 1.2 seconds as Kadin Richardson doing exactly what he needs to do at the moment, keeping the car on the racing line. Sometimes by deviating, you can try and find a little bit of additional grip, but if those tyres are screaming a little bit of mercy at the moment, as you can see our timing tower, that is the top. Well, that is the total grid, so 22 cars, 4 have retired. So Wasilewski, Brewer, Fernandez and Rosenbaum, 18 still have made it through to this point of the race. And Chris Sherburn, Chris Sherburn, who's leading in GTD AM, he has not pitted yet, so maybe he's going for the old splash and dash, but it is a very, very long pit lane here at Portimao. I should know, I've walked it through my travels at the Porsche Sports Cup Suisse, and I'm back with them again this year. And Portimao is the first circuit that we go to, and I have about a 3-minute walk from the commentary box down to terra firma, so to speak, in order to do pit lane interviews, grid walks, and then I have to go back up there and get ready for when I have to call the races, and that's something I'm looking forward to. But there goes the dive up the inside by Walker Carroll on Kadin Richardson through at Torre Vip. And they have a little bit of a paddle rub, but Walker Carroll, can he get the overspeed? No, Kadin Richardson to the outside here at turn 6, and it's going to be 2 right-handers. Kadin Richardson, he's going to run a little bit deep. That's going to open the door for Carroll here into turn 8 here at Samsung. This is for the battle for the class lead in the LMP2 side of things. So Walker Carroll getting his skates on a little bit. Now, if he's got those new tyres, we'll probably be speaking to him in the post-race interview show. But more to the point, he's got 7 minutes remaining to try and find a way to get through on Kadin Richardson as Mo Islam gets a... Oh, now Mark Kudrowski, I'd said about black flag penalties. Mark Kudrowski's the latest one to fall foul of it, so that's not going to help him as Chris Sherburn finally pits from the GTD AM class lead. And more to the point, you can see by the helicam shot, we're going through turn 14 here at Sagres, then it's going to be the run down the hill into Galp at turn 15. Now this is the opportunity that Walker Carroll needs. If he's got fresher rubber on that LMP2, the Lara P217, as they dive down the hill here on what is for them lap number 28 of the race so far. And Walker Carroll is driving blindly into that rooster tail to get that slipstream. And more to the point, well, Chris Sherburn is going to rejoin in second position in GTD AMS. But look at the 2 LMP2 class leaders coming through into Primera. They went through on Chris Sherburn, who kept to the right-hand side. Good work there by the 007 Acura to stay out of harm's way. And that's one thing you don't want to have bearing over you after a race. You don't want to be the person that caused drama in the LMP2 class lead where we don't have that much time to go. Into Torre Vip, a little bit of a late brake application, but a little bit of wheel spin for Richardson out of turn 5. Walker Carroll right in the slipstream. Into turn 6 we go again. The inside line perfect for Carroll to use the opportunity into turn 7. Can Walker Carroll get the crisscross here through 8 at Samsung? No. Kadin Richardson parks the car on the racing line and keeps his hand on that class lead, but Walker Carroll going through into 9 is going to have a bit more slipstream assist going up the hill as they're going to head into the double right here at Portimao at turns 10 and 11. And more to the point, this is where things could get very, very crucial. 5 minutes on the time left to go through into turn 12. Walker Carroll just biding his time, waiting for an unforced error from Kadin Richardson, who is not obliging with that at the moment. But as we get into the last 5 minutes of round 7 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here at Portimao, it is the case of if you are finding that adrenaline is kicking through your bloodstream, you are going to do everything heaven on earth to try and keep a hold of that race lead, because that's exactly what Kadin Richardson wants to do to kickstart the second half of this season. The last time Kadin Richardson had a victory was on the streets of Long Beach back on November 24th, so he's been without a win for 6 weeks. Can he break the dominance that Walker Carroll had at Road America, which was the halfway point of the Autobahn Endurance Cup? Carroll's trying everything in the book, and Richardson is making sure that the rear end of that 082 Dallara P217 LMP2 car is wider than an articulated lorry on the freeway.
Yeah, Richardson put up a good defense here right here. Carroll is on those fresher tires. If Richardson can keep him behind, oh, a little bit of the off, got in really deep right there for Carroll. He's going to lose a little bit of ground. But if Richardson can keep him behind there long enough, maybe they put a little wear on those tires. Maybe not, tires not making such a big difference. But you know, we saw that a couple of laps ago. That late dive from Carroll down underneath Richardson took that spot away, and it almost looked like Richardson was a little bit unhappy with that, because he kind of came back a little aggressive, put up a big defense, got the spot back from Carroll. Only 3.5 minutes left to go. Could he stay out in front and take home another win here in the LMP2 class? But Carroll doing everything he can to take it away from him.
Yeah, Kadin Richardson so far has taken 4 wins: Daytona, Road Atlanta, Motegi and Long Beach. The other 2 winners this season have been, well, at Mosport it was Matt Brewer, and then of course Walker Carroll in last time out at America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Harrison Higgins now right with Dominic Dernberg. This is the battle for P3 as we're coming down to the final 2.5 minutes of the race here in the Algarve. Got a replay here. Brian Bennett. Oh no. And that's another drama for the Sector 5 Black McLaren 161 720S. And Ryan Waschalski saying, good to be back. Unfortunately, I wasn't a kid that was good at colouring inside the lines. Laugh out loud as Rich Minkler. Oh my goodness, that is the class leader in GTD. Am has just lost it big time, but manages to keep the tyres rotated and still has a 21-second advantage over Chris Sherburn. Mean time at the moment, Brandon Wilson, next time round he crosses the line, will be on the white flag lap as Harrison Higgins trying to close on in. There is our race leader as he's making his way up towards Torre Vip at turn 5. Meantime, it's Carroll versus Richardson, and they are going to go wheel to wheel. I think Richardson has just nosed ahead. Carroll's to the outside. They could rub paint here. This is going to be way too close to call. And Kadin Richardson is still holding on. They both wobble as they apply the traction down the hill. They go through into turn 9 at Craig Jones. Carroll to the outside, and he's going to have the inside line more than likely in support him out here at turns 10 and 11. They've got Bradley Haley just ahead of them, and Carroll nudges forward, but into turn 12 it is going to be Kadin Richardson. Carroll to the outside, up the hill through into 13. This is great stuff as we hit the final 60 seconds, and oh no, Bradley Haley gets stuck as Piggy in the middle, and Walker Carroll has to go to the inside And Kadeen
They're still
Richardson to
side
the
by side.
outside. I cannot believe this. This is a great battle, great purchase between these two LMP2 gladiators. As Kadeen Richardson, still after that barrage of attacks from Walker Carroll, still holds on for the race lead. Wow, wow, wow. That's all I can say about that one. That was brilliant stuff.
I think if I'd have been Haley in that position, I saw those two LMP2 cars coming up behind me, I think I'd have drove off the racetrack. But that was some great side-by-side battles, and unfortunately, that might be the end of it right there. We'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it. We look at Brandon Wilson coming across, take the white flag. One more lap left to go here.
Just under 4.6 miles separates Brandon Wilson from his 4th victory of the series, as Kadeen Richardson and Walker Carroll, what a way for the LMP2 class lead to be decided. Bradley Haley, I think, was caught between a rock and a hard place. He didn't know which way to steer the Mustang, but nevertheless, Kadeen Richardson has come out smelling of roses on that particular occasion.
Yeah,
Brandon Wilson now making... now we have had a change because Harrison Higgins ahead of Dominic Dernberg, and that was Brandon Wilson off the track. Oh no! No, I can't believe it. Brandon Wilson at Torre Vip at turn 5 drops it through in the gravel. I think it might not have been of his own making, unless there was a car to his inside on that particular occasion. But more to the point, he is 50% of the way through this 4.592 mile circuit, 2.8 mile circuit. And Nathan Dowd gets a track limit penalty that he's got to serve a slowdown for. But we have hit 1 hour. That is pretty much time done and dusted here for round 7 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge Season 15 here at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. So let's concentrate on the man of the moment, the man that has put it on pole position, that has led every single lap of this race from Hyperion Racing. It is the number 4 BMW M V8 Hybrid. Brandon Wilson has really not put much of a foot wrong here tonight in the southern part of the Algarve, around about 30 minutes from the beach side. But he's going to come down the hill, out of Sagres, down into Galp. To the outside he's going to go on one of our LMP2 competitors, and that's Mo Islam. So it is out of the final corner. It is 4 wins this season. Brandon Wilson from Hyperion Racing takes a saturated victory here at the Algarve in Portugal. Nathan Dowd is going to take P2 in the Sector 5 Haley Agency Cadillac. But what a race it has been for our series leader. Kadeen Richardson was battling away with Walker Carroll with just a handful of moments to go, and all it took was one car to be piggy in the middle between the LMP2 cars, and that was Bradley Haley. Rich Minkler takes the win in GTD AM. Carter Cundinger, Jason Kinger is not going to win the GTD class because he's just got a black flag penalty. That could put him down towards P3, but Carter Cundinger down through the final corner. The composite performances 0-2 Mercedes will win here round 7 in GTD. Great job by Cundinger, leading from start to finish, but we have still got Kadeen Richardson. He's not that far away from taking the checkered flag, and in the meantime Walker Carroll is now 14.5 seconds behind. Richardson through into 13.
This is a battle right here for the overall leaderboard right here. Richardson actually running 3rd overall. It's got Higgins right there behind him, even though Higgins is 4th in the GTP. This is for a 3rd of the GTP, 4th overall in the race.
4th overall in the race, and also with it comes the LMP2 victory. And this is going to be a sweet win. Win number 5 out of what has been 7 so far. Kadeen Richardson, after 6 weeks, finally gets back to winning ways in LMP2 here at Portimao. And what a great battle between him and Walker Carroll. Kadeen Richardson flashing the headlights, weaving from side to side. Great stuff by him. We've got a few more drivers left to cross the stripe. I mean, Jason Kinger has not crossed the line yet, but Walker Carroll, I'm sure, will do. We will wait for our...
you get the front end damage on that.
Oh my goodness me.
That's
so
Carroll.
Walker Carroll, no front end aero on that Fury SimSport number 9 car. Dominic Dernberg has just put in the Discord, first time ever having FPS issues in the rain. And he had to pull over and restart because it was too dangerous. I don't blame him for doing that at all. But what can you say about that race? saturation the whole way through the 60 minutes, an epic qualifying. But more to the point, we had one man that is the man of the moment, and he's actually standing by in the interview waiting room. Let's bring him in. It's victory number 4 for Hyperion Racing and the number 4 of Brandon Wilson. Brandon, good evening. Welcome in, buddy. How does that feel? I know Pat wasn't here, but you made it your own race.
Yeah, I really just had to focus on myself there. I was messaging Pat before the race started. I was like, dude, are you coming? Because, whenever me and him, he and I line up together, it's always a good time. So I really just had to focus on myself, hitting my marks, which is super important in the rain, because it's really easy to make a mistake. And I'm frustrated with myself because I didn't make any real mistakes until the literal last lap of the race,
I
where I
was gonna,
went
I was gonna
deep in
ask you
turn
about
four.
that. I was going to ask about that when you went through into Torre Vip, and then all of a sudden I saw you going through the gravel, and I was like thinking, what the hell
Yeah,
happened there?
man, that was clean race the entire time pretty much, and then I just do that on the last lap. Yeah, just guess the focus just started to slip a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think when myself and Chris were actually talking, made a valid point of this during the broadcast that, if it was dry, fine. When you're racing in the wet, and you've got to be very, very careful of the painted white lines, which did catch up a few people. I mean, Paul Slavonic had a massive wreck in the Acura coming through
Yeah.
out of 5. He hit the painted white line, the Acura went backwards, the wheels were over rotating, and the rear end just went bang into the barriers.
Phew.
And he was in, and I have to say, this is what I love about this series, where we have some drivers that never give up, and Paul Slavonic's one of them. He was in the pits, 16 minutes worth of damage, comes out and still finishes the race. That's what I
There you
like
go.
about this series, where you get some people that do it. But still, this puts you on 4 wins. So Pat's now got 3, but still has the series lead. But you're gaining that momentum, my friend. And when you think about it, your nearest competitors you finished ahead of in this race. So Nathan finished P2, Harrison P3. Dominic had a bit of an FPS issue because of the severity of the rain. I think people might have anticipated, they were like thinking, yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of a spray, but it was heavy the whole way through, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I expected it to be that level. So I didn't honestly. I really didn't have much time to practice. You wouldn't guess it. Just got back home last night at like 8 p.m. and I have to work the next day. Been away on vacation for the holiday, and
Hmm.
yeah, ran probably an hour and a half worth of laps, and then yeah, that's good enough. And showed up today.
Well,
Keep in mind we had an update too, so on the tire
yeah, no,
model.
yeah, I know, buddy, I know, but nevertheless, that's a pretty good shout out. Come back from vacation after enjoying the holidays. But what a way to see in the new year. Brandon Wilson, our winner of round 7. Before we let you go, Brandon, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to there, fella?
Yeah, shout out to my team, Hyperion Racing, and Tam Livery makes awesome liveries for our car and other teams as well. And Sim Gaming Expo, really cool event that's been put on in the U.S. for the first time this year. Coming back next year, bigger and better. Proud to sponsor
Hmm.
or partner with them. And iPredictor, super cool website. If you haven't used it, we use it for all of our endurance races, and yeah, it's really crucial to what we do.
Brilliant, Brandon. Thanks so much for your time, buddy, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Mount Panorama for round 8.
Oh yeah! All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Brandon. So big thank you to Brandon Wilson. Let's bring in our man who now has 5 LMP2 wins to his credit, and what a battle to see out LMP2. Kadin Richardson, welcome in. Um, what a battle between you and Walker, right up until the death, until Bradley Haley was right in the middle of you two, going through into 13. You couldn't have called it any closer on that.
Yeah, that battle was incredibly stressful. Um, I was also fighting a fuel slave like during it.
A fuel save, my goodness. So you were now. The thing was because we looked at the pit stop times and I wasn't too sure whether Walker had actually taken any tyres um, on that front, but with the wet weather that it has been, it was a case of just get out there. I mean, you had dramas earlier on. I mean, you slipped back. I think it was like to the bottom of the field, but then you came back fighting, and I think it was stressful for you, but it was hella exciting for us here in the commentary box. Just watching you two go at it, elbows out, knives sharpened, and we were like thinking, I was like thinking, I can't call who's going to win this.
Yeah, these conditions are incredibly difficult to drive in. Um, Honestly, probably some of the most difficult conditions I've ever driven in. I wouldn't be surprised if Walker took tires. It takes about 20 seconds for tires. I didn't, but my fuel number was incredibly close.
But still, you managed. I mean, we did see that Walker actually sustained damage not long after. So we thought it was going to be a run to the line. Then we see you just coming along solo up through turn 15. But you must be really, really happy that the stress is gone, the water's subsided, and you've taken your 5th win of the series.
Yeah, I'm really glad I don't have to drive that anymore. Yeah, it'd be fun any other track, but this one is it's definitely a struggle. There's some points where it just doesn't grip.
Yeah, but still, nevertheless, well done on the victory tonight. A great battle between you and Walker, and hopefully we look forward to seeing that in future rounds to come. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thank you guys for hosting this broadcast. I gotta thank the league owners, and then I gotta thank Aqualine Performance and Automotive Couture, and then P1 Docs for my setup. Thank you guys.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kadin. We'll see you next time out in a couple of weeks at round 8 at Mount Panorama.
Yep, see you next time.
So big thank you there to Kadin Richardson. Let's bring in our GTD winner after a pretty good race. Let's bring in from Composite Performances the 02. If I can drag him down, hang on a second. Let's bring in Carter Kundiger. Victory lane at Portimao in the wet. That Merc was pretty sweet. Must have been pretty sweet to handle, even with these difficult conditions here in the Algarve.
Yeah, it was a great race, honestly. I mean, it's the setup I had on was very good, which definitely helped. But I mean, the goal for tonight, knowing that there's a high chance of rain heading into the race, it was just going to be survival. I mean, that was really the biggest thing it came down to. I knew that attrition would be high just with the rain. There's a lot of AstroTurf, a lot of places where the track can get really slippery. So, it started off the race a little on the conservative end, and then, just as the race gets on, you just keep pushing more and more as people start falling in front of you, and that's really all that it came down to tonight.
Yeah, I think it was just like you said. I mean, staying off of those painted white lines, we did see quite a few people going off. I think Brian Bennett was one of them in the GTD class. I mean, Brian had a bit of a nightmare. He had a black flag penalty as well. I think Robert did. And Robert was looking pretty racy, even though he picked up front-end damage on the Aston Martin. But I think the biggest wreck we had was Paul Slavonic when his Acura went backwards at turn 5 through the gravel and hit the wall hard, and then still came back after 16 minutes of repair in the pit lane and ended up finishing the race. I mean, with regards to the way that the Mercedes needed to be set up, was there any sort of compromises that you needed to make, apart from obviously the wet tyres and the aero on the rear wing?
Yeah, I mean, nothing super crazy. I mean, it's just, you really just add some wing, raise the car a little bit. And then, it really was just kind of managing. At the end of the day, it's managing, how much throttle you put down, right? Like I mean, you can have all the aero in the world, but if you're very heavy on the throttle pedal, it's just going to nub you in the butt. So, and even like finding the right lines too. I mean, there was the update this morning, that affected some of the GTPs, and some of them came to me and asked me about like, hey, what can we do about this? Like, especially if it's going to rain. And I told them, I was like, listen, I would rather have an update that completely changes my car before a rain race than a dry race, because you can have a halfway decent setup in the rain, but if you know what you need to do to keep the car on track, that will do miracles in a rain race.
Yeah, and also there's one little bit of good news. This is your first win of the series, finally.
I know.
After 7 rounds.
I would have never guessed that my first win would come during a rain race. Yeah, it's honestly kind of shocking. I mean, there were many times throughout the season that I feel like, I should have won, whether it was my fault or someone else's. Like, it was just so close so many times. So it definitely is nice to, actually be in the booth for talking about a race win versus just talking about the series in general. So, very thankful for tonight.
Well done, Carter. Victory lane assured in the 0-2 Mercedes from Composite Performances. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to today?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the guys running in the league, not only just all the members, but more specifically my teammates Dom and Mo, and then all the guys who have been on or with Composite Performance at some point and still participate in the league. Definitely have to thank them, and I also have to thank who I consider my big brother of the sim world, Ross Booth. He definitely led me down the right path when it comes to setup work for this Mercedes, and he made the car look super stable out there. So I have to give props to him tonight.
Brilliant. Carter, thanks so much for your time as always, buddy. We look forward to catching up with you in a couple of weeks' time at Mount Panorama for round 8 of the series, but well done tonight.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Big thank you there to Carter Cunningham, our winner in the GTD class side of things. And that is a wrap on our post-race interview show here for round 7 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. Chris, what a race it's been. Brandon Wilson really getting a clean race. We had Richardson and Carroll battling for the race lead right down to the wire. I mean, as you can see on your screens at home, folks, what an interesting dynamic Portimao has brought to the calendar here for this 15th season of the series.
I agree. Just a fantastic event. I didn't expect, we'd have that good a racing action in this kind of conditions, but Carroll and Richardson just put on a show right there. Usually you kind of see guys wanting to stay away from each other. We did see quite a few guys making mistakes off the racetrack. I'm looking at some of the chat. I see some of the drivers talking about how bad they just missed the setups. But just another fantastic show, and just happy to be here with you again, Alex. And I am looking forward to going to Australia in a couple of weeks to go to Bathurst. Don't get to see too many races. Let's hope it doesn't rain there, because don't
go there.
If it rains
don't go there
on
that
on that tight racetrack up to that hilly section in the rain, I don't think we'd get out of there with a car left. So, but this is going to be a lot of fun in a couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah. A big thank you to everyone that has been watching. A big thank you to all our drivers and teams that have participated here for round 7 of the 2025-2026 Autobahn Sports Car Challenge. And thank you to everyone that's been watching on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit us up with a like, share, and subscribe. We're nearly at 3,500 subscribers here on YouTube. And after the deluge of the rainfall here, just off of the Algarve coastline in southern Portugal at Portimao for round 7, we head to a land down under. We head to the iconic mountain of Mount Panorama in New South Wales, Bathurst, Australia, as the second half of the season commences, where it is one of the most respected tracks known to man. 6.2 kilometers, 23 turns, and speeds approaching 195 miles an hour when you consider our GTP class cars. This has been a JP Broadcasting Network production. You've been in the hands of Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Murphy. We'll see you same place, same time in just 2 weeks as we head to Bathurst in New South Wales, Australia. Until then, race hard, race fair, and when in doubt, keep it flat out. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.